Good morning. My name is Valerie Ray, and I'm with Model Schools from the RIC. Today, we are actually going to talk about creating a virtual field trip with Google Tour Creator. This can be done as a teacher creating a virtual tour, or as a student project. And the best thing about this is that when the tour is finished, they can be viewed on Google Goggles. Okay, we have a lot to talk about, so let's get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to press present, and we're going to actually present from my Google Slides here. So again, Valerie Ray, Mohawk Regional Information Center, and we're going to be talking about Google Tour Creator. So if we go on to the next slide, what I want to do is I want to talk about a project that I worked with some sixth graders, seventh and eighth graders at a district within our region. And we did this last late winter going into early spring. And this was a middle school world language example. So let me just show you the created project, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so once we click on this link, it takes us out to a final version of a Google Expedition or created with Google Tour Creator. This takes us actually to a site. It's called poly.google.com, and this is where your tours are actually housed. Now they can be published. Well, they have to be published in order for you to view them, but they can be published in a public sense, or they can be published in an unlisted sense. This one is unlisted, but if you scroll through the site, you're going to notice that there are other suggested tours that come from the listed site. Okay, so this one, like I said, is the country of Paraguay. Now, let me give you a little background. There were specific things that the students had to include into their Google tour, and you're going to see some of those things in this one. Now, notice when you're looking at this, you can see that the image itself is actually kind of moving. You can take your mouse, you can take your trackpad, and you can move through. You can move up, you can move down, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. Okay, you can do that with a trackpad, I believe. Yep, zoom in, zoom out. And you're going to notice that there's a little box over here. Well, first I want to point you here. There's scene 1 of 5. There are 5 scenes in this particular project. So over here, Paraguay, if I click on this eye right here, this eye basically is a little bit of information about this particular scene. You're going to also notice that there is a map of Paraguay. All right, so remember when we were scrolling through, if I click off of this, you're going to see an image. This is what we call a point of interest. So from this point of interest, if I click on it, there has been a map inserted for this point of interest, and that's all built into the project itself. But it tells you what this point of interest is over here. All right, I can click off of it. It goes away. I can continue scrolling through the actual scene. If I want to go to the next scene, I go to scene 2. This one also is a 360 image. I will show you where you get these 360 images. When we start building our first tour, we're going to do Yellowstone National Park, so that's exciting. Okay, so right here, I can actually scroll through these images. I can look through the images, scrolling up and down, side, left to right, that kind of thing. Again, if I want to know any information about this particular image, I click on the little eye over here, and this basically tells me that this is an image of the capital of Paraguay. All right, notice I have a point of interest here, so if I click on it, this one will pop up. It'll show down here in the list, population of Paraguay, and this, by the way, was just a screenshot, so it was brought in as an image. All right, I can click off of it. I can look for the other point of interest because I know there's another one, and I can select it. And this basically gives me another image of the financial district in the capital of Paraguay. All right, so I can click off of that. All right, let's move on to scene 3. So scene 3, all right, well, national sport of Paraguay is football. And there were quite a few images that we could have used, but I chose this one. And notice that there are 2 points of interest on this particular scene. And one, if I click on this one, this is the national football team for Paraguay in 2019. If I click over here, here's the flag. So again, remember that these were things that students had to include into their project. Okay. So I'm going to go to scene 4. This one is just, a tourist attraction. So this was Monday's Falls, and it has a point of interest. If we click on it, it's just an image. Okay. Let's go to scene 5. This one has quite a few things on it, actually. So if I click on my list over here, and I can scroll through to see all of the things that are listed on this particular scene. So we wanted to talk about culture, food, and music of Paraguay, which, like I said, were requirements of the project. We've got one over here. This is an image. Okay, so this is bread. This is another image that kind of outlines, farmer's market or food being prepared in Paraguay. And if we come over here, this one is just like a national dress of Paraguay. Actually, if I scroll down, okay, Sutori, right? We can come over here, and this one also is a national dress of Paraguay, but there's one other one here. Notice this isn't an image. If I click on it and you go all the way over, this is actually an audio file. Now, when you are in Poly and you're viewing these Google tours, you have to make sure that if there's any kind of voice narration or any kind of sound, you have to come up to this gear wheel and you have to turn narration on. So once I turn narration on, okay, so now you can hear some festival music of Paraguay, and that was inserted as an audio file, and we'll absolutely talk about that. Okay, so that basically is the 5 scenes. I'm going to shut this off. That basically is our 5 scenes of the entire project. Okay, so we are back to our Google slide, and let's go on to the next one. This next one, how did we get there? How did we get from the beginning of the project to the actual Google expedition or the tour that was created? So in the planning stages, we actually just decided, okay, what is it that we want to see? What were the parameters of the project going to be? And how do you save to your Chromebook? We had to actually take into consideration the things that the students were going to be doing on their Chromebook. Screenshots. We had to also consider, any kind of images, any kind of saving files offline. We ran into issues about using up the storage space on the actual device, and how did we clear out things on the device to save to the Google Drive. So that in itself was a separate lesson that had to be taught with the kids. And once we worked through some of those technical issues, they were up, they were ready, and they were rolling along with their projects. Okay, so here are the other things that we did. We actually created a list of requirements that the students must include into their projects. We also used Google Keep. So students use Google Keep to help organize any of the requirements of the project and to help keep track of websites and images that they used for their project. And Google Keep is just another app that they had that you have available to you in your Google Suite. So some of the requirements, and here's just kind of a snapshot: name of the country, a flag, point of interest, the capital narration, a point of interest, any kind of population that could be a point of interest, could be a narration, or it could be a screenshot. We use the screenshot in the example that I just had. Geographic location, popular attractions, landscape, weather, and we were pulling those out of Street View. Music, food, and culture, and then overall climate. What is the weather? What's the climate like in these countries? So, like I said, this was an example of a snapshot of something that we created in Google Keep, and the students were able to follow along with their checklist in Google Keep. Notice down at the bottom here, we have the virtual tour. There was a document. That document was attached to it, and then also the Spanish project, and we shared this. Each individual student shared it with their teacher. Okay, so here are some of the other pieces that went along with the project itself. Once we decided what the criteria was for the project and what students must include, we created a document in Google Docs that housed the information that they were going to use in their project. So this was a template basically kicked out to every student in classroom, and they had to have a country flag, and what was the image link, any kind of notes that went along with it. They had to have the capital, they had to have the country's population, and where did they get that information? Geographic location. All right, here's the map. And, where did we get to this link? The image link came from where? Oops, let's go back. Okay. The other thing that we ended up doing, and I thought this was pretty clever, we used a spinner. So the students actually, we'll see if we can go out. I don't think we can. Actually, the spinner itself, this is a website. So this is clickable. It would take you out to the website. You actually choose the spinner, and then you could actually label each one of these slices the way that you see fit. And then you click on the wheel and it would spin. That's the country that student would use to use for their project. So that was kind of fun. Remember, I was talking about we had to actually take some time with the students to actually show them how they can clean out the memory and the memory space on their Chromebooks. This was a screenshot of one of the handouts that I went over with the kiddos, and show them how to actually go through and clean that space up so that they can continue working on their projects. And so again, once we got there and we had everything, we had the foundation built, the students were very excited to work on their projects once they knew what country they were going to actually research. So, what is Google Poly? Okay, so let's really start talking about Google Poly and Google Tour Creator. Google Poly is just a website that Google uses to actually download 3D objects. We can also place, this is actually a place where the Google Tours are housed. It's a free library of thousands of 3D objects and virtual reality and augmented reality applications. But this is where the 3D projects, this is where the Google Tour project is housed on poly.google.com. Okay, so what is Tour Creator? All right, so Google Tour Creator is an online tool. It uses immersive 360-degree tours, and it can be shared and viewed by others. You can add multiple scenes, and these scenes can contain 360 images, any kind of voice narration, text descriptions, points of interest, image overlays. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out to our arvr.google.com /tour creator site, and we're going to start building a tour of Yellowstone. Okay, so we are here at our tour creator website, which is arvr.google.com /tour creator. And this is the front door to what we need to do. What you really need to make sure that you're signed into your Google account. All right, right here, so that when you click Get Started, I'm in my Google Chrome. When you click Get Started, it pops up right here. Now, let me just also say that if you do not have access to this website, it's probably or more than likely the Google Admin Console, your administrator or your tech director, someone is going to have to actually enable this website for you to access it, and also for your students to access it. So if you can't access, then be sure to check with them to make sure that everything is available for you. So once you click Get Started, this is what happens. A new page opens up, and you have a button here that says New Tour, and you have a button here that says, or a link here that says Templates. Some of you, if you've played around with Google Tour Creator, you might have some tours that are in draft like mine, or you may not. It might be a blank canvas. You might have a little Volkswagen that basically says, let's start a new tour. Okay. Either way, what you want to do is you want to click on the New Tour button. Once you click on the New Tour button, it takes you into a page where you are actually going to name and title the tour, give a description, categorize it, and then upload a cover photo. So we want to do a tour on Yellowstone National Park. So we're going to title it. Then the description basically is just going to be a few major attractions in Yellowstone National Park. All right, category. If I click on category, I see that I have a couple different options here. I think what I'm going to do is put it under nature. All right. And then the only other thing is we want to select an image. So here's the thing. If you have students, going back to the planning document that we used before with a project that I did with the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades, part of the planning process and part before they can even start building a Google tour, we had them go through and we had them do the research. So if they found images, they'd had to either download the images, stick them in their drive so that they had access to those images. We'll also talk about voice recordings here in a minute. But just having those documents available so that when you do start creating your tour, you don't have to stop and go searching and downloading. You just have all of those documents ready to put into your tour. So if I select an image, I'm going to make sure that I am in a folder that I have put all of my images in that I want to use. So I have actually a cover of Yellowstone that I want to use. I'm going to select it, click open, and the image now is on that would be the thumbnail image basically for my Google tour. You can actually come back and do that later if you want to. You can trash it if you don't like that image and you want to do another one, you can do it that way too. So what we're going to do, once we have all of those pieces in place, we're going to click create. So now this is the magic. What happens is when you click create, we are now able to add our first few scenes. Okay, so this project required 5 different scenes. We're only going to go through and do 3, but you'll get the gist of it after we're done. So what I want to do is I want to add a scene. And what that does is it opens up a Google Street View. All right, there wasn't anything there. Let's go back in. Sometimes this happens. We have to go back in. I've got the scene down here already. I want to click add scene. I have to actually put in where I want to go here. Yellowstone National Park. All right, I can actually pick a couple different entrances if I want, but I'm just going to pick the major one. All right, so this is how this works. This little yellow guy, we're in Street View. This little yellow guy, actually his name is Pegman. And when you drag him around, maybe some of you have noticed this on Street View, when you drag him around, you're going to notice that there are, we might have to zoom in just a little bit. When you drag him around, you're going to notice that there are little dots. These little dots right here are photospheres. And these are the ones that we want to actually drop Pegman on. These photospheres are 360 images that are tagged to that particular area. We could actually, well, look at there. There is a hiker. We can actually look around and take a look at what is in this photosphere. If it's not one that we really want to use, we can move the map around, drag Pegman again. Not really seeing too many photospheres. We'll do this one, Dragon's Mouth Spring. This is a site here, one of the major attractions. And look at that. There's actual animals drinking here. There's bison, buffalo. Okay. Maybe this is one that I want to use. All right. So this is a scene that I want to use. And I'm thinking about what kind of things can I do if I wanted to do any points of interest. Okay. All right, maybe that's not quite what I want to do, and I can keep looking, right? I can drag the map around and I can keep looking. Oh, here's a couple photospheres down here. So we can actually go to this one. This one is Bridge Bay. Oh, that's kind of neat. Nice little hiking trail. All right, let's go ahead and let's use this one. All right, so all I have to do is add my scene. The only other thing is once we start talking about citing the images, this particular image was added by a gentleman called Jeff Downing. So we might want to make sure that we cite that, but that's part of the process, the citing process that you're going to go through when you do the research piece with your students. So if we add our image, and let's look at, okay, we said this was Bridge Bay. Let's put the title in first, Bridge Bay. We could put a description here. All right, for lack of Bridge Bay, Yellowstone National Park. All right, credits. Remember, we said we need to cite and give credit for the individual that put this in here. I think Jeff Downing was the name. All right, so I can actually, let's kind of a strange little thing right there. I don't know what happened to that particular picture. So maybe this isn't one that I want to use because it does have some sort of a little anomaly in it. We can scroll through. All right, let's just for demonstration purposes, we're going to add it. Okay, so Bridge Bay down here, my first scene. My starting view is going to be right here. I can set my starting view. Let's go like right here. Yes, I want to set my starting view so that when someone clicks on the scene, they can actually start right there and look around. If I wanted to add a point of interest, which might be, okay, a stone staircase, maybe what I would want to do, stairway at Bridge Bay. I might want to do a little research on finding out, when was this created and who had created it? When was it built? Part of the service, the Natural Forest Service. If I wanted to do an image overlay, I could actually click on it, and then if I had an image, I could upload an image and just drop the image right here. Let's just say I don't really have one for this particular one. I'm going to do horseback riding just because, just to show you how this works, really. All right, so I'm going to add that overlay right there. All right, so there's the image. I can resize it. I can make it bigger. I can kind of move it around just a little bit, but that's how that's going to look. Okay. If I wanted to do a narration, I could do a site narration here. But the first thing that I'm going to want to do is make sure that I record my voice first, then save the file, and then upload the file for my particular tour. Okay, if I wanted to add another point of interest, I could add another point of interest. We might, maybe not that one. We might move this one around and place it somewhere else in the actual picture. Okay. What we can do now is there isn't really anything we have to do as far as save. We could just say, let's add another scene. Okay. So I want to actually take a look at Old Faithful. Geyser in Wyoming. Okay, we can start with that one. Let's just see what kind of photosphere photos we have on the map for them or for Old Faithful. All right, here I know I've got quite a few different things. Once I notice I don't see any photospheres, but as soon as I pick Pegman up, now I have some dots to drop on. So there's a general store. Let's actually take a look at this one right here. Okay, so here's the viewing platform for Old Faithful, and there's Old Faithful going off right there. Okay, so this is a perfect scene. This is one that I want to include in my presentation or in my Google tour. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this scene. All right, and then first thing we're going to do, Old Faithful. All right, it's already put, this picture was taken by Brian Harris. Description, Old Faithful, we'll just put Yellowstone National Park. All right, if I wanted to put some additional, here's add ambient audio. If I wanted to put some audio in here that goes along with that or just some background audio, I could do that. Or I could do a voice narration, add a scene narration. Okay, so let's see what that actually would look like. If I click, let's do a voice narration first. If I click this icon right here, it'll say add scene narration, select an audio file. So therefore you have to actually do the audio file first before and have it saved to your computer, and then you can bring it in. So let's see what that's going to look like. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a website that I usually have a lot of my students go to when they want to just record audio. This is a Google site. It's vocaroo.com. And what it does is you can create an audio. It'll save it to a file that you can use, and you can download the file. And if you don't do it within a timely manner, it's not permanent. It doesn't stay on this website. It actually is gone after about 15, 20 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a voice recording, reading a little bit of Old Faithful, and then we're going to put it into our tour. So if I click this button right here, it'll start recording very easily. Okay. Old Faithful is a cone geyser located in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, United States. It was named in 1870 during the Washburn-Langford-Doan expedition and was the first geyser in the park to receive a name. Okay, so all I did was press play, recorded, press it again, and it stops. So now I can listen to it. All I have to do is hit the play button. Old Faithful is a cone geyser located in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, United States. Okay, I probably would retake that, but I'm for for the time's sake here. What we're going to do is we're going to click on save and share. So when I select save and share, it's saving the recording, and now it gives me a URL link for sharing if I wanted to. I could do a QR code, I could embed it, but what I want to do is I want to download it. So when I click download, it'll actually give me a downloaded MP3. This is Vocaroo 17. I probably would go into my files, rename it, but it's there. Okay, so now all I have to do is go back to my presentation, and then we'll upload this file into our Google Tour. Now that we have downloaded our voice narration file, we're going to add it to this scene. So I'm going to click on add narration, add scene narration, and it's going to say select an audio file. Well, I know that I have put this audio file in my one folder right here. Old Faithful. There we go. That's the one I want. And I want to click open. So now it shows up on this screen, and I can play it from here. Old Faithful is a cone geyser located in Yellowstone National. Okay, so my file is good to go. All I have to do is click add. So now that scene narration is going to automatically play. Remember that gear wheel we had to, when we're looking at or viewing our tours, we have to enable the narration from that gear wheel. I showed you that in the beginning of our presentation. So just don't forget that that's there. But that's how you would do the voice narration. The ambient sound would be the same thing. So if you wanted, some music or something like that to play in the background, you would have to find the MP3 file, download it, and then upload it here. So remember, you click on it, you click the audio file, and they only take MP3. So just keep that in mind. All right, so there is no point of interest on this one, except if I wanted to add an additional photo. So I might put that there, and I might say, I want to actually name this Old Faithful again, description. And if I wanted to add an image, I would have to click on image, go out to where I wanted to see this, or actually go out to my files where I wanted to actually pull in an additional file. Okay, not really finding one. Not really finding one, but oh, there's one. Okay, so I'm going to click open. So I'm going to use this one. All right, and I'm going to click add. So now this photo will be right just like this. I might want to shrink this up just a little bit. I don't want it too big, and I might want to move it around just a little bit. But when you click on those points of interest, when you're viewing the actual Google tour, this is what's going to pop up. Okay, so we just added a point of interest there. All right, we can actually add a third scene. This one, I might just want to say Yellowstone National Park again. Let's do the north entrance. And we can actually, that's kind of a neat one. Here's the north entrance to the park. Okay, I wouldn't mind using this one. I think that's one I'm going to use. So I'm going to click add scene. All right, I think what I'll do is I will use this view right here as my start view. I'm going to have to move that around. Right here is my start view. Okay, so I want to make sure, Yellowstone North Entrance. Oops. All right. Any kind of description, any credits would go here. Again, you can play ambient sound. I want to add a point of interest because I saw one of my buffalo pictures I want to use. I'm going to put this actually out here. Buffalo. Okay, and I'm going to click on, again, the images. Bison, let's use that one. We're going to click open, and we're going to click add. Again, so there's a point of interest. All right, and once we click on it, we probably are going to have to do a little bit of resizing. Let's resize this just a little bit, and we'll put it just like that. Okay, so that's the point of interest. Maybe kind of want to move it around, maybe over there a little bit. Either way, but that's our scene. Okay, so now I got 3 scenes, 3 out of 5. So what am I going to do with this? Let's just say we're ready to actually publish it. Let's look at these 3 dots. Whenever you see a 3 dots, you always want to make sure that you understand what's on the menu. So edit details, and then we can delete the tour if we wanted to. I want to publish. Okay, so we're going to publish this to Polly. When I click publish, I get a little box here that says we're going to have to either choose unlisted or public. I always go with unlisted, and when I click publish, it now will give me a URL. So this URL, if students were creating this URL could go into Google Classroom. When students click on it, it would take them straight to Polly, and it would take them straight to their tour. You can view the tour here just to see what it looks like, and then you can click done. If I view tour, so once we go out to Polly, we click on that link, and what we want to do is view the tour. This is what it's going to look like. All right. So remember, we only put 3 scenes in here, but it gives you an idea of what is happening with this particular tour. So remember, you want to come over here to the left, click on the eye, and it will tell you really what some of the points of interest are. We have an untitled point of interest here. We didn't really complete that one. But if we go to scene 2, so remember in scene 2, this is where we had the voice narration on the actual slide. So remember, you have to come up here to the gear wheel, and you have to turn it on. So once it's on, Old Faithful is a cone
you'll be able
geyser
to hear
located in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, United States.
That was the recording that we made with
in
Vocaroo.
1870 during the Washburn Langford Dome.
Going to turn it off. And then scene 3. Okay, so scene 3. Remember, there was a point of interest here, an image that we uploaded, and then we didn't add another one. But that was just scene 3. So, depending on what you want to do with a project, depending on the pieces that you want your students actually to put into the project, you build your template, you build what you want your students to research, and then going in and putting it all together in a virtual field trip is really kind of an exciting, engaging way for students to demonstrate their learning. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Again, I'm Valerie Ray with Model Schools at the RIC. You can always contact me through email, vray@moric.org. Everyone have a great day.